Hello, this is Aditi from Raising World Children, and today we have Mahlena Rae-Johnson with us, who is an author and a creative coach for writers. And it is so wonderful to have her on to tell us all about what it is to write and all that it involves. Hi, Mahlena.
Hello.
I hope I got your name right.
Yes.
Perfect. So tell everyone a little bit about your books and what you've written.
Okay. Well, first, thank you for having me. And I have written 3 books. I'm working on my 4th book right now. The
Wow.
first book is called Steve the Penguin. It is about a Hollywood assistant who goes home for her high school reunion. And I published it at the end of 2007. I published it through my own company, Mr. J Media, which I created to publish my book. Then I published the sequel to that book in 2013. It's called Bianca Reagan, Where the Action Is. And it's about the same Hollywood assistant who gets caught between the worlds of politics and entertainment.
Wow.
Then last year, 2016, I published my 3rd book as I'm a university admissions coach and test prep instructor. So I help people get into college, university, and grad school, particularly business school.
Okay.
And this book is called Last Minute Guide to Apply to College. It is a guide for students and families who are overwhelmed by the U.S. admissions process. So now I'm working on my 4th book.
Wow. What book is that?
Okay, this book is called Love at a Luau, and it is a romance novel about a refugee suffering from PTSD
Oh,
who is scared to fall in love with a single dad. And I've been working on it all summer. I created a soundtrack for the book, which is available on YouTube. 55 songs for each of the 55 chapters. So it goes along with each chapter, and it's entertaining as well.
wow. You are a powerhouse of writing. I cannot imagine someone who's done so much writing. And I write, so I know how much effort it takes to put a book out there, because that's like not just a post or something like that. It's a whole complete, 100, 300,000 pages. So that's amazing. So
1,000 pages. Oh my.
well, so tell me a little bit about what brought you to writing.
Well, in 2006, I was sitting in an airport with my mother. She lives in St. Thomas, and she's actually right there now. She's recovering from the hurricane, and there's another one coming.
Oh,
So yeah, it's a challenging time for everyone involved. And
yes, definitely.
so that was 11 years ago when we met in the airport. She'd just gone to a conference, and we would like to meet so that I could come back to Los Angeles. She would go to St. Thomas. And I thought, what would happen at my 10-year high school reunion? So I started writing down all these notes and created this character, and just kept writing and decided I'm actually going to make this into a book. I think at the end of 2006, I committed and I said, I'm going to do this. And my friends and family suggested, you should get a publisher and an agent. I'm like, all right. So I tried to do that. No one wanted the book. So I continued doing it myself, following the self-publishing manual by Dan Pointer. And I ended up finishing my draft, getting it edited, interior design, exterior design, cover, all the stuff that is necessary, and got printed and got it in 2 bookstores in St. Thomas, one of which no longer exists. And I was very excited. I also got reviews from people as well. So it was a very exciting process. It's definitely slimmed down as the years went on, because self-publishing has become more of an industry than it was 11 years ago. But I really like writing, and so I'm continuing to do it and helping other people do it as well.
Yes, that's wonderful. And it sounds like there is so much work, and it is, for those of you who do not know, it is not just about writing anymore. It is about getting the book cover and getting onto social media before writing your book down, and, announcing it and creating the buzz about it before the book comes. So, but let's just focus on writing for today. And tell us, Mahlena, what challenges do you face usually when you're writing?
Well, for the first book, it was just me. I was a single person, no children, working a full-time job. So the biggest challenge was once I had all these ideas and that I had written down, it was putting it into an actual book form. So I decided that I really wanted to complete it and not just have like ideas out there. So I made an outline. I wrote down stuff on my breaks at work during lunch time. And I also got up early so that I could spend an hour at least on each of the chapters in the book and get it done. I also spent weekends doing that as well. For this book that I'm working on now, I now have a spouse, and we have a whole family, extended family and such. So there are more time commitments, and there are, even though my schedule is flexible because I work at home, I still have to go all around Los Angeles sometimes doing stuff. So writing has to be more, there has to be more of a commitment and not so much of an expectation to get it out immediately. I would have loved to finish the book this summer, but we had a lot of stuff going on, including my own priorities that take precedence over the book that I'm doing in my other business stuff. So the thing that I still love about it is that I can create the characters and create the universe and think of things and write stuff down when I can. But I will show you what keeps me on track. So here's the Little Bit of Luau notebook.
Wow.
Inside is a chapter list that I created for all of the 55 chapters. And then I pasted each of the chapter titles and the date that it takes place and a description so that I could fill out these pages for each of the chapters. So that goes up to chapter 55, and then there's spin-off things so that I can stay organized and allow my creativity to grow in an organized fashion and not feel badly if I like can't sit down for hours at a time working at the book. I can take the time to do what I need to do when I can do it.
That's wonderful advice, to be committed but not have expectations. That is wonderful. So tell us, like, how do you come up with all these ideas? Because as far as I know, and I'm hearing that you have different niches. It's not that you're focused on just one niche. You have you help people and you write fiction. So how does that work? What brings on all these various thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure I hadn't really thought about it. I'm with myself.
It just comes to you.
I just figure, yeah, everybody's thinking about stuff. And as I told someone earlier this summer, I was meeting with different people online to learn about what they do for their businesses. And I said that I wrote this screenplay about Black debutantes at the turn of the century, so 1899. And I said I wrote it because I felt like it was a cool story. It was inspired by the fact that there's lots of stories about Black people in America. There aren't lots of stories about rich Black people in America other than Empire and Greenleaf. And there's a whole history of wealthy Black people in America that doesn't get told. So I was like, I wrote that screenplay, didn't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And the person listening to me was like, you wrote a screenplay? And I was like, yeah, I wrote it. It's not going to do anything. So I went on and did another project. And she's like, how did you just write a screenplay? And I forget that I'm in Los Angeles. So you throw a stone and you hit someone with a screenplay. Everyone has one if they're like related to the entertainment industry, but not everybody in the world is just able to come up with these ideas, put them in story form. So I am someone who has a lot of ideas a lot of the time. And there's a whole list. There's over 20 different projects that I would love to be able to spend time on. This is one of them. I got a new idea for a new screenplay a few weeks ago that I started writing about, but I decided that I can't focus on that because that would be a fifth project on top of the other four. So for this particular book, this was inspired this year as something I had no idea I was going to do until I learned more about whitewashing the Asian people, particularly in American media. When I learned about the Iron Fist controversy, which I don't know if everyone knows about, there's this Marvel show on Netflix called Iron Fist. It is about a white man who went to China, became the best martial artist in the world, came back to the United States, and was a billionaire. People said maybe that should be played by an Asian American person instead of a white person. And an Asian American person auditioned for the role. He's an actor, a model, and a trained martial artist. And they said, no, we're going to go in a different direction. They chose a non-charismatic white man who had not studied martial arts. And they put him in the role, and the show is not great. I want, and my book highlights people. The main character is a Chicana woman. Two of her love interests are of Asian and Pacific Islander descent. So I want to be the change that I want to see in the media by showing inclusivity and diversity and representing the world population, which is 60% Asian in the Asian continent, 15% African, and 25% everyone else.
Wow. That's so inspiring. It is wonderful that you're trying to do something different in a unique way. So, of course, all these 25, 30 ideas that come to your head every day are all your babies. So how do you pick and choose? Like, what is your thought process behind that? Because I'm really interested.
Well, they don't all get to be born. So,
exactly. So because this is something that we choose, right?
Yeah. So I actually have actual children to take care of, and myself to take care of, and my husband, who we take care of each other because we're adults.
Yes.
But this had the most like excitement for me because I'd never written a romance novel, and I figured, okay, there's a pattern. You have to have them get together, not get together, get together, not get together, and hopefully have a happily ever after. So by choosing that this is the way I was going to write this instead of a more comedic novel that I previously wrote, it was partially because there was a formula, and I'm trying now to get stuff done in a way that isn't like feeling like it's so precious. So there's stuff in this book that I'm just gonna like rush through, whereas in my first book, I was like, I have to have the words right, I have to have this reference, it has to be like fit in, and then go on the next page, and you're like, aha! But for this book, it's I'm trying to get it done as quickly as possible so I can get to other projects that I would like, either one of the 3 sequels that I planned for this book, or my screenplay, or something else entirely. There's a pilot script that I wanted to write called Danish, which is an adaptation of the first act of Hamlet that would take place in St. Thomas, where I'm from. It's called Danish because St. Thomas used to be owned by Denmark, and there's a lot of Danish influence throughout the island and throughout the U.S. Virgin Islands. So it was very connected to that. But I don't have time to do all the stuff, and this is just the creative part. So the way that I choose is like, well, what can I do most quickly, and what is still going to be meaningful? Because all the stuff I write has meaning for me, but I focus on the fact that if I try to do everything, nothing's going to get done. So let's do this one first, and then we're going to go to the next one, and then the next one, and see what happens. Because I don't want to be someone who has a lot of ideas but never executes. I'd rather execute. As when I first met my husband, he said, "Done is better than perfect." So I've been incorporating that into my life and our lives.
That's wonderful. Like you said that, there is so much work that goes into it, right? But you have to choose what is meaningful and what means, and everything means a lot to us when you're creating something. But is it hard when you put so much work? Because I can see that you put in a lot of research because your topics are so diverse and they're so well researched. So is it hard when it doesn't come to fruition, or it doesn't see the light of day at the end of the tunnel?
Sometimes it is. For example, last year I was working on this project called increase your GRE verbal score, because I wanted to make an online course targeted at international and ESL students who want to go to graduate school but are struggling with the GRE because it is based in standard American English and not everyone speaks that. So I made this whole course. I increased my Twitter following by, I quadrupled my Twitter following, and made this whole system of a sales funnel of watch these videos and you get this video, and no one bought it. It's still great, but I decided to I guess ride my horse in the way that it was going, and looked at the people who had decided to follow me, which were women 25 to 44, and most people who take the GRE are ages 18 to 25. So I decided to figure out what my audience wanted, why were they following me, and came up with I Have a Dream board, which is, its mission is to help women in business with time management and work-life balance so that they can find time for themselves to get their life. So it's definitely hard feeling like I put on all this work on this tutoring stuff because I have all this skill, shouldn't it translate? But knowing that I took, even though the course did not play out in the way that I planned, all of that knowledge is something that I've transferred to my other projects and has been very helpful. For instance, I did a Facebook Live video today about the hurricanes and the effects that it are having. I did that specifically because I know that Facebook is prioritizing live videos, so you have more people viewing it than if you just like wrote a post or posted a non-live video. So there are lots of tools that I have been developing and learning. So even if the thing isn't successful that I planned in the initial stages, I can transfer that knowledge and energy into things that might work better.
Wonderful. So you took a step down and converted it into an opportunity, which is so awesome. And that's what we need to do, all of us, that whenever, because it is hard when you're creative and you're putting so much work into something and you completely, it doesn't fruit as you had thought it would, but you can always turn it into something else and look for the opportunity of learning or to how to use the experience into something else, which is wonderful. So what advice would you like to give, Mahlena, to parents out there who would themselves like to write or to encourage their kids to learn to write?
Well, for parents who would like to write themselves, I would say start today. Start by selecting 10 minutes in your day, just today, and write down all the ideas that you have. If you want to do a book or a movie or a TV show, or you want to write a blog, just start today with 10 minutes with no interruptions. Take that time for yourself to write it all down. And then once you've done that, do it again. So start taking 10 minutes throughout the week during each day and write down the ideas that you have. And if you've already been doing that, that's great. You can move on to the next step, which is finding an hour in your day to actually spend time writing and making sure that you have no interruptions, because it can be easy to say, this isn't really that important. I can listen to my spouse or my kids or my mom or my uncle, because writing isn't really that important. But once you start doing it and making that time for yourself, you'll see how it's so much easier and so fulfilling to have space and time for you to create and then stop and then do something else. And if you have children who are creative and you don't know how to foster that, ask them what they want to create and what they want to do. They often have really great ideas and just don't, have resources to figure out what to do. But sometimes if you just give them a paper and a crayon or a pencil or a notebook if they're older, and just the utensils to start creating stuff in the way that they have an idea to do, give them that space to do so and encourage them and ask them questions about what they're doing. Try not to tell them to do something, but ask, what do you want to do? Why are you doing this? what can you explain that picture to me so that they feel supported and that they have the ability to have their creative space of their own.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And is there any way that you would like to connect with people who are watching?
Oh, sure. You can email me if that's your thing at ihaveadreamboard@gmail.com.
Mhm.
I'm also on Facebook at I Have a Dream Board. That's the page. You can just look me up on Facebook. That's easiest as well. If you're on Twitter, it's I Have a Dream Board. There's no D because it wouldn't fit. And in our website is ihaveadreamboard.blogspot.com, and I can send you all the links too, so people don't have to like write stuff down. Oh no, what did she say?
Yes, I will
So
be
yes, I
sending.
will. I will provide all those links for everybody who would like to connect. And if you have specific questions, definitely email me. I am here to help you if you need help with your own creativity as a parent or your child's creativity as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mahlena, for sharing so much of your wonderful talent with us. And everyone watching, please make sure to like and subscribe the video and connect with Mahlena and email her with all your questions because she has wonderful answers for you. We wish you all a wonderfully positive day. Thank you for joining us today.
Bye-bye.